Hey guys, welcome to Get Her Done Garage. Today we're not going to be wrenching, we're going to do some storytelling. And the story is about my 76 Chevy Monza that I bought off Craigslist and took it from a no engine trans interior, pretty much given up on junk, to a 10-second drag street car. And I'll start with the actual Craigslist ad right here that I saved. You can see how much I paid for it. It was $650, and actually I think I paid $750 because the guy delivered it. And a little story about this was I was actually overseas whenever I saw this ad, and I called up my wife, and she got a hold of this guy, or I may have emailed him, I don't remember. And basically he said, I'll bring it over for $700, $750, I can't remember how much it was. I'll drop off the title, here it is. And I said, cool. And I said, no matter what, I'll be able to part it out for, make money off the parts. It was only $700 or whatever, so who cares, right? So I didn't see it at all till I got home from working overseas. And yep, it had a V8 motor originally. Motor and trans is gone, need front seats. Sewing the body with rims only. Body is in good shape. It actually doesn't have a whole lot of rust. It does have some, but yeah, that's the way I bought it. It was sight unseen. And this little picture here looks really nice. The paint was in terrible shape. So I'm not saying it's great now, but it was terrible shape. So let's get started, and I'll take you on the journey that I got for this 76 Monza. So when I started, I slowly, started buying the things that it needed to make it run. And basically at that point was just make it run. I had an old 283 small block Chevy laying around. I got like a turbo 350 somewhere. But it didn't even have a drive shaft, didn't have a cross member, didn't have hardly anything, no seats, bunch of stuff was just missing. So I had to go search for a lot of things, and I'll shout out to the guys on the internet. They all helped me find the things that I needed to find to get it just to run, just to get it down the street and make it street legal. And that's what I did. And that 283 was really slow, but it was running down the road. And that was the beginning, right? I think I actually ran it on the drag strip. I think it ran like 16s or something. Maybe, no, I don't even think it's 16. I think it was like 18s. It was really slow. So I just started working. And I'll share, some of the sketchy things about this car that I've had for many years. So these rims, if you know about Chevy Monzas, they have a 4x4 inch bolt pattern from the factory. Well, no other car has that bolt pattern. It's really hard to find wheels for these cars. And so these wheels, aluminum wheels, came with the car. They're not that right bolt pattern. So what did I do? I I managed to hog out some of the holes there and get the lug nuts and lugs and everything all working right. And I'll be darned if it doesn't sit flat and roll straight. And it's good. It's not exactly the right wheels, but they work great, and there's no issues with that. Now, what I did say whenever I got it is the paint was terrible. All the clear coat come off, so I spent a lot of time cleaning it up and ended up getting a Mako paint job for like $700 or something. I stuck with this theme, this red and white, and it's really, if you look at it, that's kind of what grumpy old Monza looked like. It was red and white, and I stuck with it because I kind of liked it. So after the Mako paint job, I just kind of drove it for a little while, and then I ended up wrenching on it, bringing it back. So of course every 70s muscle car had to have a bunch of stickers. Got some old vintage stickers. So here's an interesting sticker here. It did go on the Power Tour. We didn't do the whole thing. We met up with it as in Baytown. I'm in Houston, so we met it up in Baytown and went to Austin and went to Grand Prairie, which is Dallas, and then drove home. So we did Baytown, Austin, which was at the Formula One track, and Grand Prairie, Dallas, and then drove home. So this car did that with this engine in it. So I guess I'll kind of start with the engine here and why it's kind of sketchy. So this block is 400 small block Chevy. I've had it since I was about 20 years old, so it's been around 30 plus years. So I had an engine running in my 66 Impala, this block and heads, and it was running great in my 66 Impala. As a matter of fact, here's some pictures on the wall here of me in my 66 Impala. That was me as a kid. That's it at the drag strip. That's what it looked like. I don't think that's the engine, but anyway, yeah, that was it. And I think this is the fastest it's ever ran, which was 1298 at 102. That was my 66 Impala. That's it running down the track. And you can see here I added to this is my Monza here, and there is the time slip, the fastest I ever run. You can see 1093 at 128. We'll come back to that later, but anyway, that's kind of the story there on my Impala, and that had this 400 small block Chevy engine in it. So I had the Impala in storage. It wasn't very secure, so one day I went there to my Impala, and someone had stolen the entire top half of the engine, the heads, intake, distributor, everything. And I had some, pretty decent money in it for a 20-year-old kid. Dart 2 heads, pretty decent intake, yada yada yada. So needless to say, I was really pissed. And whenever I saw that, I just kind of left it and forgot about it because I was really pissed off. Eventually I pulled that block out of the Impala, and it sat around forever. And one of the problems with that block was because when they pulled the heads, they just left the water antifreeze in the cylinder walls because thieves don't care to get all that stuff out. So guess what? It rusted up the cylinder walls. It rusted them up pretty bad. So I had to work on it to get to even spin over eventually whenever I got interested in running this engine. And I noticed with this engine that I forget which cylinder it was. It has a couple of pretty deep pits in the cylinder walls. So I think it's bored. I can't remember. I think it's 30 over. I can't remember. Anyway, it's max. You can't board anymore. I'm not going to board. I'm not going to spend any money on this motor. So I was like, I'll just throw it in my Monza. If it blows up, who cares? It's a junk motor anyway. Rusted cylinder walls, pitted cylinder walls. So forget it. I'll just throw it all together. So, and that's what I did. I had some EQ circle track iron heads on there, and got it running, and wore down the cam, of course, and I'd put another cam and but got it running, and it ran pretty good. I can't remember how fast it ran, but you know, legit, it was, you know, a fun car. And then it had this intake on there with those EQ iron heads. And then in a trade, I ended up getting these aluminum heads. Funny thing about these aluminum heads is I have no idea what brand they are. I think they're AFRs, but there's zero markings anywhere. They legit look like AFRs, but nothing else. No markings. Couple of numbers, but you know, Google search found nothing. So I don't know what heads they are, but they flow pretty darn good. So I got these heads, the valve covers, and I got all this together. And legit, once I got all this running right, it was an upper 11 second, you know, car. 11.7s it would run pretty regular. No problems other than, you know, normal cobbled together junk problems. So on this carburetor, this is the Summit carburetor, which is a copy of old Holly design, which is a copy of like I think it's a Motorcraft or Autolite or whatever. But anyway, it's a double pumper 750. I've had good success with it, and that was new. The carburetor I bought new. The HEI MSD distributor I bought new. The intake was used, heads used, block used, headers were used off Craigslist. At the time, I was really buying a lot of stuff off Craigslist. As a matter of fact, at the time, the car was called Built by Craigslist. So, yeah. Over time, you know, the cobbled together junk would give up, but it ran pretty darn good. It's got a Summit radiator, you know, auto zone or whatever, alternator. This little power steering pump, I think it's from All Star. I think that's where I got it from. I can't remember. But that's a really good setup, and it fits. You can see one of the problems with the Monza, it's got no room for anything. So I was having a lot of cooling problems. Still do have cooling problems to this day. But what I do have now is 4 electric fans, 1, 2, and there's 2 smaller ones down below. And that seems to do okay. Not the greatest in Houston heat, but yeah, I've got this pretty much ironed out. I just redid the wiring. I was glad to do that because it was a really cobbled mess. So new wiring here recently, but yeah, this engine really scoots. I do have like an Aeromotive fuel pump and regulator. Not a whole lot of money. The engine I told you was junk. The heads were on a trade. They're junk anyway. And oh, I'll tell you why it's super sketchy. I've blown a few head gaskets. It is a 400, but also every time I torque these heads down, there's several bolts, not just 1 or 2. There's like 6 or 7, like 3 or 4 on each side, that when you go to get the torque, it just maxes out at about 60, and you keep turning and you're like, I think that's enough turning because it's not getting any higher. So yeah, I think the threads are shot, you know, it's not good. There's several other sketchy things about this engine. Oh, the engine too, last time I rebuilt it, it overheats a lot. And I told you about the cooling problem. So yeah, the pistons got scuffed all to hell. buy new pistons? Nah, just get some emery cloth and knock down the scuffs, put them back in there, new rings, and send it. And legit, I get, you know, really high cranking compression. The blow by is not hideous. It's not, you know, stellar, of course, but it's also not, you know, just terrible blowing stuff. So scuffed pistons are holding in there. They are forged pistons. I remember when I had this engine built when I was 20 years old, I did get forged pistons. They're stock rods. It's stock 2-bolt main, stock crank. It's nothing awesome. So, you know, you don't have to spend a ton of money to go fast. Just get, you know, a decent engine, you know, probably 383 or whatever. Get a light car and have at it. A little bit of nitrous will boost you over. So, that's the engine. This scoop I added a while back because I had just a hole in the hood for, you know, this high rise and everything, and I wanted to add this scoop. It's a grump lump scoop, and yes, I know I have it on backwards. This side is supposed to go to the front of the car and that's to the back, but I like the look of it this way better, so I ran with it. Yep, so that is the engine. The trans in there right now is I rebuilt it, and it's already sketchy. You know, second time to rebuild a transmission, and neither one's worked out well. I think I'll avoid that in the future. So I'll take you through the interior. These are swap meet seats out of a Firebird. Steering wheel is a decent one. I did do that. This is my nitrous button. I'm not going to spend big money for a nitrous button when I can just do an old horn button. Speedo don't work. This is my tachometer here. I wanted it kind of down right here, because if you mount it right here, then you can't see where you're going. So I put it here with a little shift light. I did rewire it, so I did, you know, put these new switches in here, which is nice. I do have an air fuel ratio just to make sure I'm not burning up stuff. So yeah, don't want to get too lean. You can see the interior is kind of crappy. It's legit not the greatest fire extinguisher, but it's not terrible either. It is a little flaky, plastic's coming apart. But that's the interior. It does have a sunroof, which is interesting. And then I'll take you to the trunk here. A few interesting things here. Yeah, you can see there's some rust here, and whenever I got this, the hatchback was rusted out. You can really see it's bad rust here. So it is a Monza. They rust. This hinge right here, yeah, zip ties hold it in. Works great. Here is the nitrous bottle here. I do have a bottle warmer because I was trying to run fast one time and it was a cold night and I never could get enough pressure, and it kind of pissed me off, so I did buy a bottle warmer. I do have an old toolbox in here that I mounted, but here's another unique thing is that I don't have the original gas tank because number one, that one was shot that it came with, and number two, they're hard to find, and number three, I was cheap. So I got this at a swap meet, this little fuel cell here, and we'll go down underneath and I'll show you everything. Yep. Oh, there is the Aeromotive fuel pump. You can see the stock suspension is in the back. That's all I got is stock suspension. I did put new bushings in there. and I can plant pretty good with the slicks that I got. I got slicks over there in the corner. Now, little story on this little 10 bolt rear end. This is the factory 7.5 10 bolt rear end from this Monza. Yes, 7.5. The dreaded 7.5. It's similar to the 7.5 in an S10 and a Camaro and other things. So what I did was I had these stock axles. Was drag racing one night, hooked up pretty good, and guess what? Broke an axle. So after that, I upgraded to 28 spline axles. These are, I think, from Mosier, and upgraded, of course, the center section to 28 spline from an S10. And I did put 303 rear end gears from an S10 in there. So, and it is a locked up rear end. What is that? The simple, the two blocks that go on your spider gears and just lock it all up. So it's a simple locker, rear end's locked up. When you go around corners, it hops a little bit, but it is, you know, a narrow car, so it's not really bad like some wide cars would. So yeah, that's the rear end. I did also got him to weld in the axle tubes. You can see they're welded in right there. But the rear end is held together really good since I put the 28 spline axles in there and 308 ring gear. That it's been great. And 308's, you know, not the greatest for drag racing, but it's okay and it's decent for highway. And you got to remember too, I can't run tall tires anyway, so 308 in a tall tire, tall slick would be bad, but 308 in a short slick is not nearly as bad. So I've been able to hook up pretty good. That's the rear end. I'll move over to the front suspension here. Oh, these wheels and tires, they're, you know, they're mismatched. This is Craigslist specials. These are the wheels that came with it when I bought it. But the front end, I did rebuild it all the bushings that finally gotten shot. Rebuilt it. It's actually in pretty good shape now. I did cut out like a half a coil, so it's pretty low to the ground. Stock bushings, or I think they're polyurethane bushings. I did put travel limiters in there trying to get wheelies, so, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I did clean it all up last time, so it's not a huge mess anymore like it used to be. Trans coolers is some piece of junk, but you know, I'll zip tie it in here. But yeah, you can see that it's kind of just cobbled together. My latest cobbling is the fuel gets really hot from underhood heat. So I've got a boat transmission cooler that I wire. This hose blows through the water cool inlet on the boat transmission cooler, so it blows air through that, so my fuel runs through that. Maybe it'll run cooler, I don't know. It's cool outside right now, so it's not a big deal. Maybe when summertime comes up, it won't run so hot. In here I tried to insulate this fuel hoses here, because everything gets really hot in this small engine compartment with these headers. I mean, it just cooks everything. So yeah, all right. Well, I'll go back to, you know, my time slips. Here they are. You see there is my, well, let me just, You know, this isn't absolute proof. I gotta find the video. But here is the car number, 1904. I kept the same car number at Houston Raceway Park for the last couple of years. And here's 1904. 60 foot was 1797. Eighth mile was 7.1, and there's a quarter mile. 10.93 at 128.7 miles an hour. Yeah, it's always running good. This is before it had the hood scoop on there, you can see. So it's been great. And last time I had it out, it was running great. However, the transmission was goofy and it wouldn't get out of first gear. So I took it all apart to rebuild it, thinking I'm blowing it up, but actually it was because the what's that centrifuge thing that spins that makes it shift gears? Anyway, that thing was broken, and that's why it wasn't shifting out of first. But I was trying to drag race it. I could only get first gear, but I still drag raced it. But legit, I've got videos of this thing getting a wheelie. I would hit the nitrous from the hit, and I would get a legit about an inch off the ground in this front tire. So I'll put that video in here. And that's really about it on my 76 Chevy Monza. Had it quite some time. Let's see, when did I get this in Craigslist? 2011. So been a while, and it's been a journey on this car. Been a lot of fun. I've had the kids ride in the back. Now they're old and don't want to ride in the back anymore. But cool, fun car that I've had a blast with, going faster and faster. And this year I want to go out to the drag strip and get a 10-second pass with a wheelie. That's going to be my goal. Get a wheelie and a 10-second pass all in the same pass. So that's it, all about my 76 Monza. And I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope this inspires others to go out and build them a fun, fast car. All you got to do, get an engine that runs decent, put it in something light, go have fun. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.